So we should be live now, huh?
We should be live.
Cool.
So for anybody that's jumping in, I know we had a few people waiting in the lobby, just like we are. We're in the lobby. You're like, wait, why guys, are you not out in the warehouse where you're supposed to be? You probably could hear the water dripping on the inside, which is probably an indicator that it's raining hard outside, but it could also be an indicator that the building we're in isn't really made to be watertight. One of the two.
One of the two.
I don't know. But this is a nice big metal warehouse. So we did an audio test out there, and there's a thunderstorm right now. You couldn't hear us out in the warehouse.
You can't hear anything. It's just
really
white noise.
So I realize we're just kind of sitting here rambling for a second while people jump in. We'll talk a little bit about why we're here. And this thunderstorm should start to pass a little bit here in a few minutes, and we'll go back in there. What I'm thinking is we can do a little Q&A. So if y'all have got any questions around batteries or panels. Oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad we're coming in loud and clear now. Caleb's got some really great mic setups and everything in here. It's just that we were walking from the warehouse into here, and it was so loud I couldn't even hear him talking, and I'm in the same room with him.
We were
like 3 feet away.
We were this far apart from each other, and we couldn't hear each other. It was so loud in the warehouse.
So thankfully they've got this little lobby inside the warehouse that's a little more insulated and not near as loud. So. Yeah, sorry about the cliffhanger. I know I was going to get some grief about that, but I knew I would get grief because I said that we were going to do it in an hour, and we were going to stop at an hour, and I stopped at an hour. So I'm torn on that, but we're going to finish it today. We're going to finish this build. If we have to go in there and one person be out here talking, one person in there building, I suppose we could probably do that too.
We could.
You could. You could just leave the camera in here, go in there and build while I'm in here. It'd be a little weird with us being split.
I'd have to get a way to hear you, though. Let me think on that for a second.
I'd have to be watching the stream and tell you, oh, no, stop doing that, no. And then like 30 seconds later when the stream actually comes through.
Yeah. I could have done that if I had another hour to build everything.
Right?
That would have been fun.
I could just do the stream from my house, and you'd be up at the warehouse building the...
Well, the delay would be a little too far for that.
No,
but I might be able to pull that off. But yeah.
Yes, we'll finish the cliffhanger off today. And
no,
I know
that's if the rain clears. Did it look like the rain was going to clear?
It looked like it was going to clear. I think that, and it might be pockets. It might be we go out there and we have to come back in for a little while. Okay.
We'll see.
Even now, it's getting better out there. So.
Okay, we'll see.
Hopefully it tapers off. Anyway, so we are the Bean Brothers.
I'm Caleb.
He's Caleb. I'm Christopher or Abe, either way. So I've kind of had this channel, been playing around with it just as a hobby, and gets my mind off of work. And I like buying things. I'm a little addicted to that. So I've got 4 or 5 different inverter chargers at the house that I haven't even played with them all yet. Anyway, but we kind of started this business of buying and installing solar panels, like used solar panels, and we've been doing that since last year. And we've also dabbled into these lithium iron phosphate batteries and doing some battery builds there. And coming into this year, Caleb who is an audio and video professional, was like, well, let's step up this, let's step up the YouTube game and make this a little better. So I know y'all probably noticed last week during the live stream that was a on-point production compared to what I usually put out. Because there's like what I put out, and then there's like what my wife edits, and then there's like the audio, the level of production for like the videos or the cameras available and the audio available and stuff that Caleb can provide. So they all have their place, but it's really nice when he's around. And y'all, I guess y'all saw the live stream. Some of you probably saw the live stream from Wednesday of last week where I didn't have Caleb around. So that one was not his fault. That was me and not having the right equipment available. Anyway, so that's kind of who we are. We're the Bean Brothers, got a little business. If y'all need some solar panels, we've got, right now, we've got 230 watt used Sharp solar panels for $60 a pop. We've got 310 watt REC solar panels. The 230s are 60 cells, so they're like 65 inch by 39 inch, whereas the 310s are the 72 cells, so those are like 78 by 39 inch, so they're the larger format. We've got grow watt inverter chargers. We've got these lithium iron phosphate batteries that we're building with today. We've still got some of those, and we'll be trying to get some more of those shipped over here soon. So lots of stuff. If you happen to be in the area, we're in Mansfield, Texas, we can get you set up with just about everything for some everything from like a little 12-volt system to we had a gentleman come by who may or may not be on the stream here that came by and got a 48-volt system for a trailer that he's building. A kilowatt and a half or so on the roof for solar and a 48-volt 3,000 watt grow watt inverter and a 16S 48-volt battery that they'll be able to run his air conditioning and all kinds of stuff inside that trailer really nicely. And that's the kind of build I'd like to do. Some of you may have seen the community post that I made. I really want to make something that's an example system of that can kind of roll around the shop and be here as kind of an example rig, I guess. I'm sure someone will come in and want to buy it at some point, but at least have it built and be able to provide that content. But anyway, if you guys got some questions that you wanted to talk about before we run in there and do the battery build, please feel free to throw those in the comments here. Hey Dan, Dan was here, you were here earlier today, right? It was good to have you by.
Yeah, he got a few panels.
Looking forward to getting this 24-volt battery done. I was looking at it today. There's really not that much left to do. But we do have a 24-volt inverter charger. I was talking about all the inverter chargers I've got at my house that I haven't used yet. And I've got one here today that's a 24-volt that we can connect up to this battery. If we've got some, that's something I didn't look at was if we had a cable we can plug that into the grid to actually charge the battery. We'd have to snip an end off a cable to be able to plug it in.
Edison end.
We need Edison end, snip off the D-plug.
Okay.
I don't know.
Could probably sacrifice a D-plug.
I don't know if there's I know I'd sacrifice one of my house. I should have brought it to be able to do some charging off of it. Rain, rain, go away. Come again another day. I was actually enjoying the rain earlier today. Aquatics Live. Bigger panels that have a middle brace. The 350 watt RECs that we had, did they have a single brace or two?
It was two. It's two braces. But
So it had
so do the 60 cells.
These 60 cells have two braces in them. So these 60 cells we've got, which are probably like 8 years old,
Yeah.
they're heavy
stout.
duty. They're pretty stout panels.
They're pretty stout. They got
they've
the
got
the bezel's on pretty thick
They're
too.
like 1.8 inch thick, and then they're only 65 inches tall, and they've got two braces out in the middle. The 400 watt Jinkos that we had this last year, no brace in the middle. It was just the panel. But the 350 watt RECs that we had two in the middle. What about these 310?
None.
They have no brace?
No brace.
That's interesting because they're REC as well. But they have a super thick frame.
Right.
They have like a
They do.
45 millimeter frame, whereas the 350s had a super thin frame, which was nice for being able to stack a lot on a pallet. Because we had like 35 to a pallet,
Yeah.
where the 310s are like 25, I think. I think it's 10 less.
Yeah.
25 to a pallet. Yeah, because we have
25.
100 of them in there on
Right.
4 different pallets. So I don't know where you would find a comprehensive list on which ones have braces or not, but it also seems like, I don't know if this is true across the board, but those 350s, it seemed like they had braces so that the frame could be thinner. So I don't know if that really helps you or not. I suppose it gives more support to the middle of the panel out in the glass. Yeah, Dan, the 230s have the brace. Dan, you'll have to tell us how those panels test out.
Yeah.
I've got one set up in there we can see when we go back in that I cleaned up, and they look pretty sharp. They don't have, like a lot of older panels will have some discoloration in the cells or in the nickel tabbing and stuff that goes between the cells, and this one that I'm looking at just looks super shiny and brand new. And these came off of an actual a commercial install up in Delaware. We have to decide if those 350s are available or not, because I know someone said they were going to come buy them. We just have 2 left.
Today's the 20. Yeah, he said this week. So.
Oh, he said this week? Okay.
Yeah. So I'll reach out to him and see if he's still going to come by. If he's not, we'll have to release him.
Yeah.
It's just the 2 though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we just had the two 350s left. So really we're pretty much down to the 230s and the 310s, I think.
We maybe have some 400s if he doesn't want. We don't have enough to fulfill an order.
Oh yeah.
So if he decides he doesn't want to complete that order with the
because he wanted
too few, then
9.
those may
We only
release.
had like 7, I think.
I'll have to talk to him and see what he wants to do with that.
Yeah, we had some 400s that we needed to do some repairs inside the junction boxes. So Caleb got those all finished off. JM. So the grow watt inverters, it took me a while to figure that out when I was first looking at them. When I first started in the solar thing, it was like, oh, I just want the super inexpensive inverter, and then you get the modified sine wave 2,000 watt 12 volt inverter, and it kind of just craps out on you, and it's like, okay, whatever. And then I went to the Ames $200 1,000 watt inverter, which can actually power more than the previous 2,000 watt inverter. It's like, oh, quality matters, not just the watt numbers. So I got turned on to the grow watts, probably from Will Prowse. And looking at them, and it's really confusing because you look at all the listings and they say split phase. Really, it's really split phase capable. So a single, and I'm talking specifically about the grow watts that we have. I think it's the LVM 3000 is what the model number is. So 3,000 watt inverter, 80 amp solar charge controller, 40 amp grid or generator charger, and they're split phase capable. So one grow watt unit will provide you 110 volts. If you have 2 grow watt units, you can run a communications cable between them and you can get split phase. So you have 110 from each, but if you take the hot leg from each, you get 240. So that's how these grow watts work. And that's how it's the same way with the MPP solar, and I'm sure there's some other ones as well. I mean, even
Can you go up to 3-phase?
Yes, the grow watts will even do 3-phase.
Okay.
So you can do up to 6, I think it's 6 inverters total, and you can configure them as like 3 as a 3-phase, and then you can parallel that up and have 6 with 3-phase. So you'd have, I don't know how you would say that. I guess it would be 18 kilowatts, but it would be 3-phase power, so you'd have so many kilowatts per phase, 6
Right.
kilowatts per phase. Yeah, so you can do single phase, and if you want just single phase, just 110 volt, you could do 6 of them at 110 volts and have 18 kilowatts worth of 110 volt. Or you can split phase it and do 18 kilowatts 240. Anyway, you can configure it many ways.
Did that notification go?
Did it what?
Nothing.
I don't know. So and I'm not sure about the Grow Watt 5K. To be honest, I haven't looked at the whole Grow Watt product line. I don't have it all memorized. Because I know that there are inverters out there that will provide, you got to watch out for the ones that provide just the 240 volt. Because of course the European voltage, let's say other than the USA, right? Like to run 240, which kind of makes sense. Like, why not just run everything 240 instead of having this 120 and 240? So if you get one that's only 240 or only 220 or whatever, then you don't get that 110 volt at all. Which if you're trying to run like just a well pump, and I was talking to an installer just this past week or two, and he was talking about installing inverters just for the well pump. And then you have a separate inverter for the house maybe. And if you're doing that, yeah, go get a European model. If it'll do 60 hertz, which I don't know. I don't know if the Europeans, I don't know if those models will also do 60 hertz, or maybe well pumps are okay on 50 hertz. I kind of doubt it. But you got to watch out for that. If it's a 240 volt model that's not split phase, then that's not going to work for you. Sounds like the rain might be dying down. We'll see about going in there in a second. Travis, you like it all in one leg. Can be 240 or 120. So Travis, is that, I need to play with some MPPs. I've got one MPP solar. It's a 1012, so it's just a 1,000 watt 12 volt inverter. And I don't think it can be, certainly not 240, and I don't think it can be paralleled up. But with the bigger ones, the 5048 and the 6048, so can you make it to where, I guess you can make it to where both hots are in fact synced up, so it's all just one big 120 amp or 120 volt circuit. That's actually really cool, because like I bought a 4,000 watt split phase inverter, And so that really means that you have 2,000 plus 2,000. So you can't run anything at more than 2,000 watts if it's a 110 volt device. So it kind of straps you in some sense, because what if you have too many loads on that leg of the inverter? Like, I mean, you know, usually if you got a 200 amp panel at your house and you're coming in from the grid, like one leg versus another leg, you know, it's 100 amps each. Like that's, you don't really have to worry about that. But if you're having to worry about it with running your whole house on one inverter, balancing your legs is a little more important. So running everything on 120 could be advantageous. I could see that. JM, that sounds like a nice system. 2 grow up 5Ks. I mean, I guess if you're getting 2 of them, it just depends on how they want to play. I'm sure you can get it to work with split phase either way. JM, yes, we're here in Texas. We're in Mansfield. It is where we've got our warehouse. Oh, so the European MPP will do 60 hertz and can do 230 to 240 volts. That's nice. Because, I mean, yeah, if you want to run just some big device, then those inverters, for whatever reason, are much less expensive. It might be for the same reason that a charge controller is less expensive at a higher voltage. So, you know, relatively speaking, if you have a 60 amp charge controller and you're running it on a 48 volt battery, you can do like, what, 2.8 kilowatts worth of solar, but on a 12 volt battery, it's like 720 watts. So it might be the same thing with the European inverters. If you're running at 240, you're running half the amperage. So the electronics inside costs a lot less, because it's really half the components inside, or half the size of components inside. Hello, Anthony from Florida. Auto transformer, the 240 volt from European MPP, and you can do it 80-20% split. I've looked at transformers, and I've always been disappointed at their efficiency. But, I mean, if the efficiency isn't bad, that would be an inexpensive way of doing it, right? Get a 240 volt inverter, and then having a transformer that can take that 240 and dump it into a couple of 120 legs, or at least a 120 leg. That way, yeah, I don't know. Just for anybody that just joined, I know you came in for a live battery build. We came tonight, and just before the live stream started, it started raining. I don't know if you can hear the dripping in the background, but this building isn't necessarily made for rain. Either that or it's raining really hard. Could be both.
It's a metal roof that needs insulation. So
and that's the other part, right? It's a metal roof.
A drizzle sounds like a downpour.
Yeah, you're in here and it's drizzling, and it's like, oh my goodness, the world is falling apart. And you go outside, and you just like see little drops coming down. Anyway, it was like actual thunderstorming, and so you couldn't hear us inside the building. So we're waiting for it to die down a little bit. If you've got some questions, we're going to answer some questions. We are gonna go in there and do the battery build. We're going to finish that off. So don't leave, or at least come back in a few minutes and see how we're doing. I think the DVR is turned on, so if you need to go do something else and then come back and rewind to when we go back into the shop and get the battery build going, please do. Let's see. Nubian Davis. Yeah, efficiency in the toilet, and they get very hot. That's kind of what I've thought for transformers. They don't, they're not very efficient. And when you're talking about running things off solar and batteries, you lose 20% efficiency through a transformer. That's a lot of power that you're dumping. So it might be better just to have the right inverter instead of trying to drop it to 120. I've heard that the transformers increase the surge capacity. I guess that's probably the same reason that a low frequency inverter has better surge capacity than a high frequency inverter, because they have the big copper coils in there inside the inverters. I haven't done a lot of testing with that, but that's what I understand. Oh, JM, you were talking to us? That's great. Were you were the one asking me about the grow watt earlier today? I know I only talked to a few people today. Midlothian, that's just a stone's throw away. Yeah, 90-pound. Is that the transformers that weigh that much? Yeah, when you get that much copper. Hey, you want to look at the radar and see?
It looks good.
It looks good.
You want to transfer over?
Let's get in there and get building on a battery.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to move into the warehouse and go start looking at this 24-volt battery. Shouldn't take too long to put together. So if you guys got more questions, throw them in there. I'm going to be checking on the chat. We'll meet you back in there. Now we need some elevator hold music. Dum 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 dum. Appreciate y'all bearing with us. There's certain things that we don't really hard to anticipate, because I thought about the rain and I was like, I'm not sure how much that would affect us. But then we hooked our mics up and did an audio test, and it was like, nope, can't do this while it's raining. So I'm glad we had a little extra room in there to kind of sit and do a little talking before we get in here. But all right, what do you need help with to get things?
Oh, we lost that camera.
Uh-oh. Do I need to try and reboot it? It's not powered here. Do I need to just turn it on?
It's not powered? Try turning it on.
Is there... I don't see a power cable to it.
Oh, no. Why don't you start talking to them and I'll work on this.
Hey guys.
No, the camera's up.
Cameras, oh, that one there. I see. So this is the battery. I only got my hand slapped once when I was touching it, and Caleb said, no, you can't touch that until next week when we start the live stream. So I think where we left off is I had thrown some dielectric grease. Dielectric grease? This is not supposed to be over here. This is supposed to be hidden. I'd thrown some grease on these bus bars. I'm sitting here like talking louder because I walked away from the mic, but I didn't because the mic is with me. And I had someone comment on the video that it's not really required to get the grease between the aluminum terminal and the bus bar, because the bus bar is nickel plated, not bare copper. And so there's not going to be a corrosion problem. He's probably right. However, I did pull out a copper piece for one of these connections, in which case I probably should have this grease on here. So this is kind of a worst case scenario. You know, we did it. What I want to do is I won't be able to do this today because I don't have the camera with me, is put this under a nice big 120 amp load and just make sure that all the bus bars and the connections are not getting hot. But I don't think this grease is going to cause any problems with conductivity, which would be I think that would be the risk.
All right, so do you think we're
ready?
Ready to dig into this?
I think are you ready to dig into this? Because Caleb's gonna be a mule over here actually working.
Yes. So, if I remember correctly, when we turned the camera off last week, we realized we just think backwards, didn't we?
We did do something backwards, and I'm betting that a few of the viewers noticed that we did something backwards.
So on this side is our lugs.
Yep, these are our main positive and negative terminals, except
and
the BMS is on the other side.
So, as you chit chat, I guess I gotta flip flop everything.
Yeah, so probably go ahead and remove all the BMS sense leads, because those are going to be backwards too.
Yeah, just remove everything, and we'll start over with this stuff.
Dum dum dum. Dum, 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 dum. Excuse me. Oh, if I do that too much, YouTube's gonna flag my stuff. I can't be
flag you for talking, for singing.
Well, I can't. Yeah, I can't be singing any copyrighted songs, right? Wanted to see. You guys have probably chatted so much over here that I'm gonna have to catch up. Anthony, you talking about like the layout of like a template for the wood, for the battery? You were talking about the box we built. This is kind of a thought I had. This is the first time we used it as a, like this would be the finished product. And we're kind of seeing how it works. My skills as a carpenter are subpar, but I was thinking if this works well, then we could create a template and use a router to be able to create these pretty easily, and just provide the template or be able to sell the pieces or whatever. Oh wow, Travis, yeah, that would be, so everyone's just got metal roofs. I guess that makes sense. I didn't think about the metal roofs, but not having insulation kind of makes sense because it's pretty mild most of the time. So Victron has recommended, Travis is saying that Victron has recommended not putting grease on the mating surfaces. It's interesting. I guess that's going to be a hot topic. I'm going to have to do a little more research on the grease thing. Where I come from, my brain space, right? So it looks so much cleaner now. Can we just do it that way?
Right.
Where I come from, I had a house that was built in '69.
So real quick,
Yeah.
can we pause for a second? I need to start off on this sucker.
Yeah.
So are we good on the plates? Look, this is,
Yes, those will stay.
so I've moved this to this side here.
Yep, and that's white is negative.
And so
It
I'm going to
also says
start with the
negative in there
big one.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
right
does.
there. Yeah.
See negative on there.
Oh, we need our safety goggles.
Near safety goggles.
Dum dum dum.
And
Must
I'm
have
going
lost my
to
good ones. That's all right. I can still see.
those right there.
Oh, there they are. I couldn't see them through my glasses. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm starting with the bigger one, if I can remember correctly.
Starting with the black one.
The black
yes, because
wire.
black starts with main negative.
Okay.
Yes, siree. Yes, siree,
And
Bob.
then I'm going to go to the next one,
Yep.
and that's going to go to the
The
positive.
very next. Yep.
And then the third one's going to go to,
The next bus bar.
The next
then you can
bus
follow
bar.
to the next bus bar all the way across.
then I'm going bus bar, bus bar, bus bar.
Yep.
And you're building a bus bar for this.
Yeah, that's right. Because I need to put
Okay,
some.
so you can go back to you were talking about
Yeah, I was
copper
talking about
and
the grease, right?
grease.
The antioxidant, because my first house was 1969, and it had aluminum wiring in it. So, I mean, I figured when I moved in, I knew about aluminum wiring. I knew that was a problem. One of the houses I looked at while I was shopping for homes was around that era, and I saw some evidence of aluminum wire problems. Like they had a what do you call it? Oh wow, it changed since last time we were here. This is exactly what we don't want. You don't want pressure on the terminals. What you would be better is if I had like bent this in a way that it could be a stress relief. This could actually work out really well. Y'all are like, hey, Bean, would you just finish your thought? I would love to finish my thought. I saw some houses that had evidence of aluminum corrosion. Aluminum corrosion? So the problem with aluminum in homes was typically that you have aluminum and copper connecting to each other, and that's where you get the corrosion. So it wasn't that aluminum wires were this horrible thing. It was that they were, you had like copper wires for the light fixture and then aluminum for the main wiring in the house, and then they oxidize over time, then you get hot outlets in the house and you have fires and all this stuff. So one of the things was you could take antiox like this and load up your wire nut with it, and then if you can't get oxygen in there, then they can't oxide and rust, and so it doesn't cause heat, blah, blah, blah. So there's so many solutions for, you've got aluminum wiring, you mitigate it, and it's fine, which kind of makes sense because like even now, like they use aluminum wire for transmission wires, they use aluminum wire for like air conditioners and heaters and stuff, the big stuff. So it's not like they don't use it anymore, they just don't use it a lot in the branch circuits. And actually what I've heard is that even newer houses have had aluminum wiring put in. It's not something that necessarily ended in the 60s or 70s. Anyway, so that's where I came with aluminum wiring. So the big deal with aluminum here would then be if you've got an aluminum terminal on the battery and you're going straight to copper on the bus bar, then yes, absolutely, that could be a problem. Now, you're getting nice tight connections using nuts and bolts and studs, so I figure the chance of that being a problem is probably a lot less. If it's nickel plated, that probably mitigates it 100%, I don't know. But making my own copper bus bars, that's probably where I would mostly have a problem. So let's at least go with that. I should do anti-ox on anything that I do a copper bus bar on.
So I went backwards
Uh-huh.
from here.
Oh, we got to fix that one too.
Ah,
Remember, we got to redo.
okay.
We're supposed to have 2 wires at the end.
That's probably why then I have an extra.
Yeah.
So is this one supposed to start here?
So where is? So these two are supposed to be
Those two are supposed to be married together?
married together.
Okay.
Which I guess you could just put it on there. Like you don't have to have it on the same terminal.
Oh, it doesn't be the same.
So that's fine.
Cool.
That's easy enough. Dum dum dum.
But then that's correct assumption that I could go backwards from the red after I put 2 wires on here. And just
I got a plus for Noah locks. Thank you, Travis. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was saying dielectric grease. I'm sorry. I meant Noah locks, and y'all saw that because I held this up. Ugh. This is what I went and bought. This is the antioxidant, not the dielectric grease. Correction noted. Noah locks. And I would have gotten the bigger one, except Home Depot didn't have the bigger one in stock. I don't know why. It took me 20 minutes to find this one in the first place. But I appreciate Home Depot having it at all. I need to be appreciative. I appreciate Home Depot for having it. The opposite of dielectric grease. Okay. I apparently don't know my compounds. Uh-oh, JM. You said there's another 30 minutes? That's not good. Maybe we can at least get the battery done and then go back and talk some more. We'll see.
I did see a notification over here. 8:51. So yeah, we got about
8:51.
20
Got
minutes.
about 20 minutes. All right, guys. It's another race just like last week. We'll do it. We can do this.
Okay, so there was, if I remember correctly from the last build we did,
Yeah.
there was a way to check this, right?
Yeah,
to go
we have a
through and make
multimeter.
sure. I do right over here. Do we want to put nuts on all these?
If you've got enough for continuity, we can do the check first, and then come back and put the rest of the nuts on and torque them down. So basically, for continuity, you've got your leads here, which should be like this, right? Where you've got negative on one side and positive straight on the other. And of course, some of these are dud leads that we don't need. Let's see if we can move those aside. I'll put those up here so that we know which those are. So what I do is I grab the very first black one. You got to make sure you don't short these when you go to probe the next one. Don't hit the other multimeter lead. And set you on DC voltage. So that's 3.29 volts. So then what I do is I just move the red one to the next lead, making sure that it goes up by about 3.3 every time. And that will tell us that we good. So good. 13, yeah. Is that the last one?
Yeah, it's got to be the
We
last
got to
one.
go over here.
How many in is it?
13. So that was the same one. That's good because it has the same lead is connected
Gotcha.
on both. Yep. Yep. 16.46. 1975. Do we have, which one is that? Oh, there we go. 1975.
No, I went backwards one. So go back forward one.
Okay, so that one's
So we got a
not.
problem.
Is our main positive making good contact? Is that the last one or last two?
There we go. My
No,
arm may have been
it's
touching.
2 volts. That's only 2 volts.
It's only 2 volts.
So which one are you trying to probe right now? Sorry, I couldn't see.
I can't see either. I think
one?
that was it.
Okay, so that's this like the second to last one. Let me see. So that's this one here. Is it possible this didn't get a good contact in the crimp?
Looks
It looks good.
decent, yeah.
That's weird. That all looks fine. So, where did I drop my black one? All right, so go black there, and then third in. It's being very finicky. This is why you always want to test it. Make sure you know what you're getting. Yeah, what does that one do? Okay, you're not. I think it's not getting good contact for some reason.
Still freaking out?
That's weird. Yeah, it's still freaking out. So like take the red one and put it there. What do you get there? That's good. So let me see the red one. Oh dear, we've goofed up the connector a little bit.
Oh, do we?
Might be fine.
I stab it too hard?
Yeah. So that works. That was 26. And the very last one should also be 26. And then this one, there we go.
All right, so it's just, I wasn't stabbing it correctly.
Yeah, it was just you're getting plastic, I guess. All right, so we're good there. And we left off, so like the 2 wires here and the 5 wires here. Is that right? So that leaves 2, 4, 5 wires on this side and 2, 4, 6 wires on this side. Yeah, I know we did that based on actuality. So so you're going to go through and tighten all the nuts now to 40 inch-pounds.
Cool.
I guess you got to put the
We
nuts
just put
on.
regular nuts in the rest of them, right?
Yeah, just those serrated nuts, whatever. Whatever. Hold on, guys. I'm getting caught up. Dan, you're asking about the battery box, the 12 volt. There are 2 that we have right now. This one, excuse me as I bend over. Use the legs. This one here, we have for 1100. So this is made out of the same cells. We've got it compressed with plywood like the other one. It's got a 100, I think it's actually a 120 amp BMS, 12 volt, so that's about 3.4 kilowatt hours. It's got the over temperature sensor, 2 gauge wire it looks like we got on here, whole 9 yards. I take it you already know what this looks like, but I'm telling you anyway. And then the 2 big old terminals up front.
40, right?
40 inch-pounds, yes
40
sir.
inch-pounds.
So that one is 1100, and excuse me as I walk to the other side, and you guys tell me if it gets too loud in here. I hear some rain starting to hit the roof. This guy here is one that I might end up rebuilding, unless someone buys it soon. This is a 200 amp hour battery instead of a 272 like we would have with those cells. Also a 12 volt. It's a 4S 2P. Got the big terminals up front. It's got a 100 amp BMS. It's a nice big battery. 850 for this one if y'all wanted it. But anyway, now I feel like I'm on a live shopping show or something, but that's fine. So RV10 Flyer says he does HVAC and does not use aluminum. That's impressive. I wonder if, because what I'm thinking is, thinking about our house that we grew up in, they had big old aluminum wires running to the air conditioner. One, it was a really long ways from the air conditioner back to the panel. Yeah. So maybe that was a factor. The other one was I think they had a gas fire in that house and they converted to electric. It could be that they went electric resistive heat, and so they needed some serious wire for the resistive heat, not necessarily just for the AC compressor, and they went aluminum. But I don't know. I'm not, yeah. JM used equipment. We do sell used panels. So far, that's the only things used that we sell are the solar panels. all of our inverters and batteries and whatnot are all new. Charge controllers, that stuff. JM, that sounds like a fun system. Are you doing, it might be that I just haven't gotten it to here yet. Is this like a cabin, or is this like you going off grid for your house? That's it's pretty fantastic. Dan, how many batteries do you have for a 16 kW? Dan, are you talking about like a 16 kW solar array and then like battery to match, or like 16 kilowatt hours worth of batteries? I'm going to ask all these questions, and then I'm going to get to the bottom, and everyone's going to be answering. This is interesting. This is fun. Oh yeah, the 230 panels. I promised to show you guys what those looked like. This here, I'll bring it a little bit closer so we can see it with the front camera here. This is one of the 230s. So, can you tell from there? You can tell that it's nice. So all the silver bus bars are still silver. It's not discolored. I wiped this one down, so I mean they don't always come this clean, but I wiped this down and there's no discoloration or spotting or anything on the glass at all. I mean, it had a little bit of dirt and stuff right where the hold down clamps were. They're very thick, fairly thick panels. These are an inch and about 1.8 inches or so. Hey look, there's a tape measure just standing here. Yeah, so almost 2 inches thick. And then the back side, excuse me as I bump Caleb while he's trying to build a battery. The back side here has the double crossbars. These are like I-beam crossbars. There's little cushions between the crossbar and the panel. Back sheet all looks like it's intact. No problems there. Junction box is all good. And of course your little pigtails with your standard MC4 connectors. So they look like beautiful panels. I had them out in the sun Saturday. It was Saturday when we were here, right?
Yeah.
And I was actually trying to compare it up to one of our 400 watt Jinkos, which were like they may have sat out in the sun for like a year, racked, but never actually energized, never really plugged in. And its efficiency numbers were just as good as the 400 watt. So we were getting, I've got some pictures of the current clamp from the meter. I think I have them on the Facebook and the Craigslist ad now. Pretty sure I updated both of those, but it was showing the full short circuit current. That was what I was looking for, short circuit current. The voltage was less than the 37 open circuit, but.
So we were talking about where we wanted to put this.
Yeah, I don't have a way of mounting it
mount this yet. This eventually is going to go to here, right?
That will go there, so that'll kind of hold it in place.
And then this stuff here all needs to plug in over here.
Yes, it needs to go in there.
So I can dress that around.
Yeah, sure.
But maybe we should move past
or
dressing.
Should you go? I mean, you could even dress it to that too if you wanted to.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
What's next after dressing?
I think you could go ahead and get that on the negative terminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because it's not going anywhere. And then, shoot, if you got them all locked down. Oh, I think these nuts might be loose to hold the battery together.
Oh.
So
dang,
check that. I've got my socket set.
Okay.
I'm gonna just turn around in circles until I find it here.
I put mine back in my truck, so.
So those 60 cell, you can tell that they're 60 cell because they're much shorter panels. We got them for $60 a piece. And did I get done saying? I had them connected to my, I don't see that inverter anywhere. My MPP Solar 1012.
It was right there, I think.
I'm losing my stuff. I could be losing my brain. I don't know.
It's like the Palmister, right?
No, it's bigger.
No, the bigger one?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I had a connected solar charge controller, and it was getting 200 watts, which you never know the accuracy of those because I know with their Palmisters, like they're very optimistic. We connect our 400 watt solar panels, and they're like, I'm making 450 watts, and I'm like, you're not, but I'm glad you're optimistic. Maybe I'm not glad you're optimistic. I figure it doesn't really matter. It's pulling in power. Anyway, it's funny. I think at some point I figured out what that was. I think the deal is that it calculates like on the incoming side from the solar array, and then says, oh, well, if I'm bringing in 400 watts on the incoming side, and I do a dividing by the voltage of the battery, then I've got that many amps, and I take those amps times the battery voltage, and that's how many watts I'm putting in. But it doesn't take into account the inefficiencies within the charge controller. And while the palmisters are great, they're inexpensive, you know, $100. The efficiency of those units is not the best. They're like probably in the 86% range, whereas your nicer units are going to be up more towards the 95 to 98% efficiency range. So you lose a few watts going through the palmister controllers. Anyway, but when panels are cheap, you know, it's not that big of a deal, at least in my opinion. Let's see. 58.8 is the voltage. So y'all talking about calculating based on 58.8 volts. Usually you do it on nominal voltage. So like with these cells, these are 3.2 volt cells, lithium iron phosphate. So if you do 3.2 times 4, that gives you a 12.8 volt battery. So like if these were 100 amp hour cells, just to be easy with math, 100 amp hours, 12.8 volt cells. Ooh,
Those are the extra ones?
Okay, you're still dressing.
Still dressing.
Sorry, I'll leave you alone.
It's fine.
I saw bare wires on top of a battery. It freaked me out a little bit. It's probably fine.
It's probably fine because it's not touching anything.
Because they're not going anywhere.
Yes, bare wires on top of a battery.
12.8 volt battery. If it was a 4 cell, a 4 in series, 12.8 would be 1,280 watt hours, 1.28 kilowatt hours. You get that extra 0.8 because it's 12.8 volts, not 12 volt nominal. So then when you get 24 volt, you know, you're really 25.6 is your nominal voltage. 3.2 times however many cells. So your 48 volt battery, I think it's 51.2 would be your voltage you would calculate your capacity on. So 272 amp hours at 51.2 volts, which I think is like 13.9 kilowatt hours, something right around there. Y'all may have already like discussed this in the chat, and I haven't made it down there, so anyway, I'm saying it out loud anyway. Yeah, if you've got 7.8 kilowatts of solar, most inverters can only handle like 80 amps or so. I know these grow watts are 80 amps, which is about, what, 3.8 kilowatts? I mean, you could always have the inverters you need with solar charge controllers, and then add solar charge controllers on top of that if you need more charging than you need inverting. So like if you want something that's more efficient, then I'm gonna walk off screen here, but y'all don't worry, I'm still with you because I've got a beautiful mic. If you want something a little more efficient than like a palmister, and I can show you the size, well, y'all probably know the size difference, but I'll show you anyway. Oh, here's a Make Sky Blue, it's the same size. If you look at, I was talking about the efficiencies, right? Something like this EP Ever is probably about 94, 95% efficient, compared to these little Make Sky Blue or palmisters are about probably 86, 88% efficient. That was with questionable test equipment, but it's all relative, right? So you could always, you know, grab some 60 or 80 amp EP Ever or Midnight Solar or Schneider or Outback or whatever solar charge controllers, and throw some panels into there and then over to your battery bank.
Okay, I'm dressed. I'm gonna skip clipping for now. I'm gonna be clipped as you're working on some other things. Since you got rain keep tripping us.
Right, yeah, because we want to see if we can get it powered up. So we've already tested that all of our, it looks beautiful by the way, all of our stuff is coming in correctly. One of the things before you plug in, so this is the thing, right? Before you plug these in to the BMS, you do your multimeter test and make sure that black is your main negative and that you come all the way across to red, which is your main positive. That's your big deal. You don't want to smoke a BMS. You can smoke a BMS if you've got these wires mixed up and you plug it in, you let out the magic smoke, nothing goes right after that. Also, you want to make sure that your main negative, your high current negative from your BMS is on the terminal and connected before you do the sense leads. Some BMSs don't care, but some of them absolutely need you to have that connected before you plug in the sense leads. The other thing we can do is plug in our temperature sensors, which we haven't shrink wrapped. Do we have a heat gun handy?
Yes.
That's the real question, is whether it's handy.
And do we need to
I do have a lot of hot air, but I don't think it's quite hot enough.
stand by? I'll find it.
The heat shrink tubing, I think, is really just to keep you from shorting anything out on whatever you put these on. But, you know, got to have your temperature sensors. There is one built into the ANT BMS, and then you have these that are remote that you can throw up on top of the battery somewhere. Or we can put them, like, you know, down the middle or something like that. And then we'll need our wire for activating the BMS. So I'll plug that in as well. Now I'm doing things instead of you.
I unplugged
Oh,
the power
okay.
to your computer.
I see.
Oh, it doesn't survive very long, does it?
It looks like there's the screen turned off. It's fine. It's fine. That's what it keeps telling itself. It's fine. I forgot what I was talking about. It's probably not something important. I think I was talking about efficiency of charge controllers. Just
How
only
tight do
marginally
we need to
important.
get these sockets, you think?
So we don't want to, like, compress the batteries. I think what we want, because it's arguable whether these need to be compressed anyway. What we want to do is provide a little bit of tension so that if they try to expand, it's expanding against the rods instead of the bus bars. That's what we're going for. So just
snug.
just snug. We're just going snug. It'll be fine.
And I am known for over tightening stuff.
Yes, you are.
So I may have to have you.
JM, I'm jealous. I really want to take my house off grid. I'm going to do it one of these days. I'm doing a grid tie install right now, but later on maybe I can get a Solar and still use the high voltage strings that I've got and charge batteries with them.
You want to test those fills and see how you like those? Oh man, I forgot the freaking heat sensor, the temperature sensor.
Oh, now you got to do more zip ties.
Just
Yeah, I just throw them on top of the battery, or if you even want to stick one down the middle of the battery somewhere. I don't know.
so there's
It'll
two.
hold heat down there.
These are
That's
two.
two, yeah. Each
I
of
can
the
get
heat
this
shrink
one.
things is a sensor. So JM, if it says 240 volt split phase, that means it's like a house where it's 110 volt on each leg. Yes, that's correct. 240 volt split phase means two 120 volt that will act as a 240 if you grab the hots from both of the 110s. I appreciate, Anthony, you jumping in and providing stuff. There's a lot of, let me just be clear here, there's a lot of people, most people know more than I do about this stuff, so I really appreciate you guys jumping in and answering each other's questions. All right, I'm hearing some rain, so we might have to retreat here for a minute and go answer some questions, but
How do they? Do you want to see how they respond? Tell us if
yeah,
it's too loud.
y'all tell us,
Tell us this gets too
level
loud.
of rain, can you still hear us okay, or should we retreat and come back here in a few minutes? Why don't you go ahead and plug your sense leads in. Let's see what happens. It sounds very confident of me, doesn't it?
I'm just as confident.
This is why we have safety glasses on, right? And no wedding
And it
rings.
doesn't. Yeah, that's why I have a rubber one.
That's right.
Hopefully it doesn't matter red and white, or is red.
You got it right. I think the two connectors are different anyway.
Well, I mean,
One's a
like,
different
it
size.
doesn't matter if I should go
which one's
red
first?
or blue, black first.
No.
No. I mean,
I've never noticed a difference. How about
okay.
that?
Cool.
All right, so now the BMS is not on, but we do have this connector plugged in, and you'll notice that it says activate. So it's got a red and a black. So all this needs is...
Wait, what says activate?
The BMS says activate, right there.
Activate. Okay.
Activate, as opposed to
So-
temp. So what this needs is like 1.5 volts to 12 volts across these leads, and that will turn the BMS on. So if you would do like that on that first cell, it should turn it on. You just need it on there for a couple seconds. A little, oh, there you go. Yeah, so we got a little beep. We have a little flashing red LED.
I don't think they can see that.
Yeah, it doesn't come through very well, does it?
Nope.
Anyway, there is a very small flashing red LED. And I kind of get worried about bare wires hanging out, so I unplug the activate.
So
you really,
so
yeah.
this is just to get it started.
It's also the connector if you want to do an external screen. You'll notice it's a 4-pin.
Ah, okay.
So it has like a CAN bus connector on there as well.
Okay.
I did the screen once. It's okay. It kind of shows you the individual voltages on the cells and whatnot, but it's not like terribly impressive. Where did I leave my phone?
Oh, I don't know.
Who knows? That's hilarious. I lost
So
my
you need
phone.
you need your phone
Well, I was going to connect to the BMS.
to go to the BMS. Right here. Isn't that it? Oh, it's
That's
your
my
other
other
phone.
phone.
Did you leave it in the office?
Maybe.
Here, why don't you talk to them? I'll go look.
Okay. You come back here. Oh, I asked you guys how the sound was. Let's see here. I'm waiting for a lightning strike, yes. Okay, so the rain at this level is okay. That's good, because I'd rather be out here with all the stuff. Yeah, aquatics, it would be a nightmare to ship just one of these. It'd probably be like 150 or 200 bucks just to ship one, just because it's freight. It'd be really obnoxious. But honestly, you should be able to find, where are you at Aquatics Live? What area of the country? Oh, Iowa. Sorry, you said right there. That's like I said, I got to read down and find out what it says. Iowa. Oof. That's weird. I wonder where I left it. Got like receipts and... Did I leave it in here? Maybe it is in here.
I saw
Maybe,
it in here at one point
can
earlier.
you call me?
Yeah.
Maybe? Thank you, all 21 concurrent viewers that are still bearing with us here. I'm looking for the...
Well, do you want to set it up on my new phone?
Oh, it's in my pocket. I found it. I checked all my other pockets.
Well,
Thank
I mean,
you.
okay, so do you want to do a full install from my phone? Because I've never done it before.
If you want to, you can go find the app on your phone. Zzz.
Yeah, thinking about it.
So look for, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. It's that one on the left. I have an iPhone. That one on the left is available on my phone, which happens to be an iPhone. XIAO. XIANG. There you
BMS,
go.
okay.
So this is, I don't know if this is the official one or not. I think the other one's the official one, but yeah, that's the right one. This is the one I like more. Now, if you want to be able to change the settings from in here, you have to upgrade the app, but you can at least view the battery. Uh-oh, here we go. It just started raining harder. I'm telling you guys, you're like, I know. The BMS link is dead. Looks like the JBD.
All right, so
Travis, you're here for the smoke. That was that was last week. I didn't smoke anything last week. So we're, oh dang it, no, that's the wrong app. We're not doing, you're right, that looks like the one for the JBD. We're not doing the JBD, we're doing ANT. Go look up ANT BMS. This is the right one. Yeah, the one in Chinese. All right, you'll have to tell me now how bad the rain is. It just started really pouring down. The rain sounds like my inverter running. That sounds about right. Had to walk over and get some water.
Did it connect? This, Does this connect it? I didn't do
Okay.
anything.
So it looks like it's there. So you can see that yeah, you were on it.
It just
That's
worked.
beautiful.
I didn't do
Okay,
anything.
so you can see that it's only been online for 5 minutes,
Okay.
which is beautiful. What you're gonna have to do though is now configure it. And this one does have free configuration. Go into settings in the middle. And let's start at the top. Go to battery type. And so it's on, so set LiFePo4.
Oh, so that means it hasn't been set yet. That's giving
Right.
you, it's just helping you
So
figure it out.
before you go to charge this battery or discharge this battery, you want to make sure the BMS is set up for
I just beeped.
this type. Yeah, I think it's got a confirmation beep.
So I just,
every time
okay,
you make
so
a
there's
setting
this-
change.
Okay, cool.
So now you
Nice.
can go in and set your physical amp hour. So you can set that to 272. Is there any way to get
27.
you a little closer to?
7.2.
It's gonna be really annoying.
It's really annoying. I mean, we
Do,
could have some real fun here and just.
Yeah. Whoa. Do you want me to go loosen it?
Yeah, if you'll loosen it.
Oh yeah. All right, so hit set on that. That's with this thing, you gotta make sure you hit set every time. Got another beat.
Got another beep.
All right, so cell number is 8, not 16. So this BMS will do anywhere from 7 to 16 cells. By default, it says 16. All right, so now let's go. So now that you got the cell numbers correct, go back to the main screen, bottom left. Yeah. So now if you scroll down, you should have all the cells listed. Oh, it's already there. And you can see you got all 8 cells. All 8 show a voltage. If you get the wires wrong, a lot of times what it'll do is you'll have some weird voltages. Like, so you'll have some that are like 4.5 or 5 volts, or you'll have some that are like 0 volts. And that's usually because you did like us and initially got these connected wrong, or you forgot to do the double one on the positive, or just something weird. Generally, these BMSs are pretty resilient, and you plug them in wrong and it's fine. But there's a lot of horror stories out there about people plugging them in and they smoke. But anyway, it looks like we got it right. So you can see that the blue one, the one that's colored blue, I believe that's our low cell, which is not all that low really compared to the rest. There should be a delta, a cell delta. Where's that at? Oh, the cell diff is only 0.01 volts. Now,
Whoa.
as
Where'd you see that?
cell diff,
Cell
bottom
diff,
left one.
right here.
That's how far the most charged cell is compared to the lowest charged cell. Doesn't mean a whole lot when we're at 3.3 volts because of the super flat discharge curve of lithium iron phosphate. So what we're going to see when we go to charge this battery is the fact that we did not top balance them. And everybody's going to yell at me now because we didn't top balance them. That is a long process where you would take all 8 of these cells, connect all the positives together, all the negatives together, and put it on a 3.6 volt charger and wait for them all to come up to charge. Now, if you have a 10 amp charger, which you can go get like a desktop power supply for probably 40 or 50 bucks, that would be a 10 amp charger. You set it to 3.6, you push 10 amps into these things, and they're currently at 50% capacity. You're talking about 140 amp hours per cell at 10 amps an hour. What is that, like a week? Like, it's a long time. And that's just for 8 cells. Like, you talk about a 16 cell, and it's just, it gets into, if you've got the time and you want to leave it a month, that's great. I've had pretty good luck with, I say luck, I mean, I'm careful about it. Setting it up like this, getting it all programmed in the BMS, put some conservative figures in there so that the balancing kicks in, and then charge them at a low rate so that the BMS can pull the high cell down as the rest are charged. And honestly, at that point, you could be using the battery, and then over a maybe 3-week, 4-week period, while you're still using the battery, every time it gets up close to charged and is topping off the battery, everything is balancing out and it'll figure itself out. The danger would be, and this is based on my stuff, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong and correct me here, right? We've got a chat for that, that's why this is live, and you guys can interact. The danger would be when you're supposed to charge these at a constant current, constant voltage profile. So what that means is if you set it to the max being 3.65, that's what these are supposed to max out at per cell. That's when you get your full 30 volts or so when these are fully charged. What's supposed to happen is once it hits 3.65, your voltage stays the same and the current will taper off. And then it'll continue charging with the current tapering off until it's full. You know, it'll be 3.65 volts, but it'll be full after the current tapers off to 0. And that's what you would see if you put them all in parallel, did a 3.65 or 3.6 volt charge on them. Eventually that desktop charger would go from a 10 amp rate all the way down to 0, and then your batteries would be full. Your cells would be full. It's not a battery yet. Here comes the rain. Anyway, so we're doing it this way. The danger is that one cell is going to be more charged than the rest, and it will reach that point. The BMS will cut off charging, so we are relying on the BMS to cut off charging, because even if our charger is set to 28 volts, you know, it could even at 27 volts, one cell could hit high because you've got, say, 3 cells that are pretty high, and then the rest of them are super low. And it balances out weird when the cells are not in balance. Anyway, I might just be talking and not actually making any sense at all, but this has worked for us. So we need to set up the rest of the settings in the BMS. Can you open that back up again real quick? I'm glad the sound is still good. Y'all keep me updated. I'll keep going back to the chat in case we need to retreat, but it looks like we're doing okay at this point. All right, so let's go back into the settings real quick. And go into protect parameter. And we're doing all this for a 24 volt battery. Cell high protect, I like 3.6. That's good. That was the default for, yeah, don't hit set. It's if you put a new value in there and then hit set, then it moves over to the left, is what happens.
Oh, okay.
So 3.6 is your stop charging because there's a cell too high of a voltage. So 3.4 is what it would have to drop to in order for the BMS to start charging again. So, and then the cell low protect, of course, is for discharging. So 2.8 volts, that's backwards. Cell low protect and cell low recover. That should be 2.5, then 2.8. Flop those. YouTube is complaining about the stream. It's not receiving enough data. I wonder if our internet's going out. Travis, yeah, oh, you were talking about to Dan, yeah. Sorry. I love those Delta H6s. They seem like great units. All right, you guys let me know, is this too loud? There's a lot of rain coming down. I say a lot of rain, it's probably just like a little above a drizzle, but it is thundering outside.
Okay, so what am I looking for now?
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. Let's see, so cell diff protect, a volt seems good. Total high voltage protect. So that's gonna be our 3.6 times 8. Totally did it and then didn't. So 28.8.
Total high voltage protect 28.8.
Yes, sir.
And you multiplied that.
So I did 3.6, which would be one cell, times 8.
Okay.
And the next one will be 20.
That was total high protect, right?
Total low protect would be 20. So that's 8 times 2.5. So charge current, we're going to set that to 140. That's funny, Travis. I'm glad it's not our roof, but yours. Can't hear us over your own roof. Delay, high current protect. So the 200 amp, let's move that down to 140. I'm not sure what I guess the level 2 would be milliseconds as opposed to seconds. Oh gosh, it's loud. Yeah, I'm sure we're going, I'm sure we're deafening these people. Let's just keep scrolling. Oh, is that it?
That's
Sweet.
the bottom.
All right, so let's get out. Let's go into temperature. So, actually, those look right. Those look good. All right, so that's good. Let's go back to the main screen. What did, I didn't see the balance settings. Go back in there again to settings. Yeah, there we go. 3.4 volt for start. Yeah, I like those settings. So if we get any of these up to 3.4, it'll start balancing. Still good? Well, that's encouraging, RV10. I guess we'll keep going. And I'm gonna keep drinking water because I feel like I'm shouting.
I can barely hear you. So what are we doing next?
We need to get a positive battery cable connected.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. It's like, that would be helpful.
So are those cables you pre-built?
No, those will be to the inverter.
Okay.
I should have brought some thicker cable. Oh, that's 2 gauge. That'll work. And then getting you sleepy for bed. Good. Gosh. So we just need to run a positive wire from here to here, basically. Just this little tiny run. We have the big cutters. Are they over here?
Sorry guys, it's very hard for us to focus right now. It is deafening in here. I can only imagine what it sounds like for you guys.
I think I'm gonna go deaf.
I can't hear you.
I know. This is bad.
So if the whole thing goes down, we may lose power, may lose internet. fuck? That's loud.
That's legit. That's legit raining.
Just so you guys can see what the heck's going on. That's our rain right there. Oh, look.
Oh, that's nice. I'm glad we have such loyal fans. I appreciate you guys bearing with us.
Oh, man. Oh, I can hear now. All right.
Yeah, Anthony, I appreciate that. It's it's true. It's like this would never happen if we were recording the video. It's only because of the live stream. Looks like the storm has passed a little bit, so. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you cover your trailer in panels. Maybe that'll help all the noise. Yes, Mitch, he was using the NDI app on his phone. That's exactly what he's using. Mitch, 24 volt system, 100 amps, under 4 feet, spec says 8 gauge. And we're sitting here using 2 gauge. I did a build with a 100 amp hour battery, and I used 6 gauge wire. And that wire, it was welding wire, lots of strands. It got hotter than I really liked. They're telling us we're overkilling our copper wire here, so that's good. I'd rather overkill.
Oh, it's too thick of a wire?
Yeah. I think you're on the. I think you're releasing. You're done.
Oh, is it done?
I think you're just hitting the relief valve.
You got another one of these here?
Yes, sir, Bob. Travis, what current, if you're using 10 gauge, what current are you charging and discharging at? That's, I don't know, that seems like some pretty small wire. $65 kilowatt hours on 10 gauge. I suppose we should have paid a little bit of attention to the orientation, but I think it'll be okay.
Yeah,
I think you're. Yeah, okay, maybe you already looked at it.
I kind of looked at it. I made an assumption. I could be wrong.
Thanks for paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
Dang it! I gave you the wrong one. Should we drill it out or redo the wire? Is it gonna be long enough if we cut it? It'll still be long enough. Yeah, let's just cut it. I will. Let's make sure we got one in here. I think I do.
So what would be the downside of drilling it out?
This one's really not that much wider,
But you can
so
lose
there
some
really
of
wouldn't be.
that
But that's
connection
what
point.
you're worried about is, if you drill it out, are you losing too much of the copper? But these are actually about the same width anyway, so drilling it out, you wouldn't really lose anything. This just has less copper around it regardless. And honestly, this one's kind of loose anyway, so we'd probably be better off just drilling that out.
We just need
It needs to go out
just
to
a smidgen
3.
more. Did you
That's
bring your
5/16? I brought my drill bits. They're in there.
Okay.
We have a drill.
Yep.
Let me get his 5/16 out. I believe it's 5/16. Yep. I think I had some heat shrink in here too. This stuff fit? That would be a no. But this stuff might fit.
Oh, see, I forgot to put the heat shrink on there, huh?
Oh, it's all right. We can do it over it. Press wire connections. Travis, are you running a battery with your Delta H6s? A 515 volt battery in your Deltas? Based on our conversations Wednesday when we were doing the live stream, I certainly wouldn't put it past you. That is not a voltage that I've been willing to risk. You're just doing one side, right?
Yes.
Okay. Gosh. I must have a dull drill bit. Did you get it? I suppose those could have been a little longer, but it'll be fine, right?
Oh yeah, that'll be fine.
Travis, you have my respect. Don't kill yourself. That's a lot of voltage. So Travis, did you have to do anything special with the Delta H6 to get it to work with your battery? Or does it just charge? And then how do you set what the max charge is? Or did you happen to find the, because I'm sure there was like a CAN bus communication between the battery and the Delta H6 previously. So does it also have like a max charge and you're just taking advantage of that and it's just charging up to max? So I know like these grow watts that we have, in order to set the setting to lithium specifically, you had to modify it, okay. So in order to set to lithium specifically, you have to have a CAN bus enabled battery that grow watt supports. Whereas with just one of our batteries, you set it to user defined, which is a constant current, constant voltage, and you set your voltage ranges and whatnot. So, but I know that the, like the Fortress batteries and I'm sure all the LGs and the Tesla ones, they all have CAN bus communication in order to talk back to the inverter and charge controller and whatnot to keep everything in line. Put the little ones on top, because you want a nice, good connection.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, how pretty. Oh, look, the BMS turned itself back on. So you should only have to activate the BMS the one time when you're actually setting up the first time. After that, you shouldn't need to. This BMS is weird though. Most BMSs, in order to activate, you basically touch the B minus and the P minus. So on this one, it's the blue and the black wires, the two ends. You should just point to them, right? The black wires here going to our negative terminal, and the blue wires here. You would just touch the other end of the BMS to the negative terminal of the battery, and it turns it on. With the ANT, it doesn't do that. You have to use the activate, or apply an appropriate charge voltage to the BMS. But with solar stuff, like for an e-bike or an e-scooter or a little car or something, that makes sense because you've got like an AC charger. It's just putting out current. For us with solar, your charge controller typically has to have voltage or current from the battery in order to turn the solar panel charging on. So there's really no good way of activating the BMS unless you do it manually, because you have to have the BMS on in order for the charge controller to turn on so that you can then charge the battery to activate the battery. You end up in the vicious circle.
Okay, so what's next on our list? Do we make another cable? Because I see you got...
Okay,
just pull these
we
out.
have a battery.
We have a battery.
What is our voltage on our two main terminals? Should we flip this? Well, I don't want to flip it around because then we can't get access to it.
I'll pull this camera out.
Okay, then we can show them this side. You guys don't know what this side looks like. You're about to. The NDI magic. Travis, I've got two of those Delta H6s hanging in my laundry utility room right now, waiting for me to land some solar panels on them. I'm hoping that there wasn't I don't think there was a whole lot of wind today.
There's a little bit.
Was there? Caleb's getting our stream, mobile stream set up here. So we've got our BMS, of course. So our main negative off the battery with our four, what are these? Are these 10 gauge? 12 gauge, four 12 gauge wires. Running to the B minus of the BMS, so C minus goes out to our charge controller and inverter. So that's going to be down here. And these are just stainless steel bolts that I ran through the wood and then put a nut in to capture them. And then we just got this wing nut, which, I mean, you could just do a normal socket. I just kind of felt like doing a wing nut.
Sorry, I was not watching where the camera's pointing, so why don't you...
I thought you were...
Well, what did I do there?
Oh, what'd you do?
I don't know. Hold this for a second. Let me fix this. I didn't have the fancy button set up. There we go. That's what I was trying to get set.
Okay.
Right there. Okay.
So yeah, our 4 12 gauge wires into the BMS, 4 12 gauge wires out. Of course, you got the MOSFETs in here that can control the charge and the discharge, turn off each one individually, which is actually really cool. A lot of people don't talk about that because you can do relay-based BMSs, but you lose a little bit of functionality because with this BMS, you can actually turn off the charging and the discharging is still there. So if you hit low temperature cutoff, it'll turn off charging, but you could still fire up your inverter and run things if it's super cold, like, you know, running a heater to heat up your batteries very slowly so that you don't burn them from the battery itself, because these batteries can discharge at cold temperatures down to, like, I don't want to say, but I think it's negative 20 Fahrenheit typically for lithium iron phosphate, whereas 32 Fahrenheit, you don't want to charge a lithium iron phosphate. You will chemically destroy it inside. So with the MOSFETs inside, you've actually got two sets of MOSFETs, one set for one direction, one set for another direction. Don't ask me how I do it, but they do. So we've got our, and the other thing is I didn't worry, the only thing I worried about with these terminals was I wanted to get stainless steel so you don't have corrosion, because stainless steel is pretty resistant to corrosion. I wasn't worried about conductivity because I'm not running from the back side of this wood to the front side. Both the inverter and the BMS terminals are going to sit right against each other on the same side. They're going to have immediate contact next to each other. They're not trying to transfer current through the bolt itself.
Would you want to, is my mic on? Yeah. Is it going to be a problem this not being, Oh. Never mind. I was gonna ask whether
I like how that
this
one's
should
got a
be
washer.
this should be locked in, always and never moving.
Which
And
one?
The amp BMS.
Oh.
But I just realized that it doesn't matter because you were saying the other side's not connected to anything anyways.
Yeah, it's
So
not.
it doesn't matter. Okay. It was a
So
silly question.
we're good to connect, like, you know, an inverter, right? Let's fire up your phone because we want to do a little trick here. Someone was talking about pre-charge resistors the other day and probably wondering why I don't have a handy pre-charge resistor around. I actually did find it in my garage the other day, yesterday, and I was like, oh, I'm going to bring that up here just as a demonstration unit, and I forgot to bring it. This is how I get away with not using pre-charge resistors, is because I use smart BMSs. I'm going to do this. For those of you that weren't on my live stream on Wednesday, it was not nearly as fun of a live stream. I lost a few solar panels off my roof. I have some stage sitting up on the flat roof of my house, and the wind started blowing on, I guess it was Friday? Was it Friday the storm rolled through? I don't even remember now. Anyway, the wind started blowing, it was sucking the panels off my roof and throwing them in the backyard. So 4 panels ended up in the backyard. One of them ended up shattered, and one of them was bent. The other 2 were fine, which is fantastic. I say fine. Physically, they're fine. I'll have to test them and make sure that they work. But that was crazy that they were so resilient. Go to the main screen. No, go to the current screen. To the cure screen.
Can I do this? Cure screen.
I think, still not. Control screen. Apparently I need to actually use it. Okay, so you have 2, right? I'm talking about the 2 different types of MOSFETs in and out. So we can turn it off. So we can turn off that and turn off that. And now we have no power at our main negative terminal out of the BMS.
You want to get the voltmeter out and demonstrate that?
RV10 flyer. Yeah, let's get the multimeter out. Now I say no voltage, well, no current. We will have a little bit of voltage because these MOSFETs apparently leak voltage. But if you tried to power anything off of it, it would be
You gonna show that to them?
ish. You wouldn't get anything. So you have 19 volts, but if you shorted that out right now, it would just go to 0. There wouldn't be a big spark. It would just be blah. Anyway, so I like to do this. Turn off the BMS, then we can do some connections of things. I guess we'll turn this around to us to see, just because. So what we've got here is a definitely not Renogy, but it sure looks like Renogy's new product that they just released. It's just, you know, cream instead of beautiful blue and black. I actually like Renogy's color scheme. I think a lot of people don't use color schemes, but I guess Victron's got a color scheme, right? You know when it's a Victron unit. I'm surprised that some more Chinese solar places haven't copied that. So we have our battery negative and our battery positive. And then, so if we connect the inverter first, that's just always good practice, in my opinion. Even though we've got the battery off, there's certainly no power inside the inverter. This is actually cool. They actually included the lugs with this inverter that fit inside of it. But I happen to have some pre-made cables from a, these are from that 2,000 watt modified sine wave inverter. So they may not quite be the,
I don't know if this washer's gonna be big enough.
oh really? Dang it. Maybe we do need to make some cables. I don't have any black cable though.
Do we have
That's
any?
some really small nuts.
They are.
Or do we have a washer? These are zinc, and they're a little big. Nope. That wouldn't work very well. Dum dum dum. look at me, Mr. I thought I was prepared. Do we have any other options for cables? Hey, are there any other comments on there that we should address?
Any comments?
No, I don't have any thicker cable over here. I need some thick cable. I mean, I suppose we're just charging it. We wouldn't have to use super thick stuff. No, I think I already read through all those.
Oh.
Well, I appreciate everybody hanging with us here. We're gonna figure out how to get this inverter hooked up. Do you want to see if there's a cable we can butcher to do an AC in, so that we can actually charge off of it? Or do you think no? Just an AC. So plug into the wall on this side, and then bare wires into here.
You'll plug into the wall? Oh, because you're going to
Into a power
charge from the
strip.
wall?
Yeah, because
Gotcha.
I wanted to charge off the wall. Make this hard to get to. What gauge of wire is this? This is, oh, it's going to be millimeters. 25 millimeters squared. I'm going to end up cutting this wire just so that I can do this. What is 25? Can you use an amp BMS? So Travis is asking, can you use an amp BMS for 16 cells at 12 volts? Like, don't parallel the cells at each cell level, but instead parallel them at the 12 volt level and use the 16 cell channels and 4 independent blocks. No, Travis, I don't think that would work because, yeah, no. You only got one set of MOSFETs, so it certainly couldn't do protection. Then it'd be a question of, can it do balancing? And then you end up with, if any of those batteries are in the same system, do you have like a positive here that ends up with potential over here and you short something out? No, wouldn't do that. What is 25 millimeter squared to AWG? 25, calculate. 3 gauge. 3 gauge. 3 gauge. Why would they use 3 gauge wire? That's so silly. So I wonder, so my 2 gauge connectors, I bet you I could make that work. I'm just going for it, guys. We're going to snip the connectors off of here and go see what we could do. I need to get one of those snazzy wire strippers that's not a big hunk wire cutters. I have good wire strippers for smaller wires. I just don't have anything for these heavy gauge wires. Four gauge is 25 millimeters squared. So I wonder, I wish I had more selection for lugs. I don't think I've got my box of random lugs. Let's see how well this fits inside of a 2 gauge. Ooh, yeah, that's pretty loose. If it'd fit better in here. Might require like a double crimp. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna go check and make sure I don't have something over here that I could use. This is the beauty of live, is I find out that I had something wrong. I tried to get all the stuff together. I guess we'll just go for it. Worst case scenario, I end up with a ruined lug. But let's throw a 2-gauge crimp on this guy and see what happens. I guess I'll use the ones that came with the inverter. Well, I'll leave those. I think they're the same size. Fruitless. Alright, so this was 2. Let me grab 4. Or do I have a 3? Is that a thing? That's an 8. 4 plus. Maybe try a 4 plus. I don't know what the plus is. Maybe it's like slightly bigger than a 4 gauge. Which would be like a 3 gauge.
All right.
Something that might
So this
work.
is ACN,
Oh,
right?
Sweet. Yes.
So I see ground. I see N for neutral, I assume. And L
Yeah,
for
line neutral. So line would be black, neutral would be white.
Okay.
We can hope that they wired it correctly on the other end.
We can check continuity on that.
Hey, I think it worked. I think I'm going to go back with a, I'm going to go and swap this out for a 4 gauge instead of a 4 gauge plus. Yeesh. All right. Bam. Let me do the positive end here. Poor cable. You've been sacrificed. But you will have a new life. Be reborn. Is this BMS better than the Dali BMS? Dali. I've used a few Dali BMSs. I bought a smart Dali BMS, and I was not impressed. But I think that I was not alone in that. So it could very well be that that was their kind of like first version of BMS. I'm gonna pontificate a little bit here. A few years ago, you didn't have options for BMSs like we do now. This is like, I guess it was a bit of a cottage industry that kind of popped up.
You said black was...
Line is black.
Line is
Yes.
black.
So I think Dali kind of came in near the beginning and provided a lot of variety of BMS so that you could be like, okay, this is the parameters that I need. These are the parameters that I need. And they could get you set up, which was beautiful. Yikes, I really messed that one up. Apparently I should have staged this one up through the different sizes. So I think that's kind of where Dali made their name, was in the, you can go to their store and grab any one of 500 different types of BMSs. Lithium iron phosphate, lithium titanate, lithium ion, at the different voltages, the different currents, and then probably these people started coming out with the smart BMSs, and they needed to compete. I didn't like the smart BMS from Dali. Their screen didn't work right. I couldn't get it to change over to English. To be fair, I didn't have the Bluetooth module for it. So it's possible that it worked a little bit better than their screen did, which was quite disappointing. Functionally, I'm sure it's the same. That was me pontificating. But isn't it great that we have options now? I really like the JBD BMSs, and I'm working on finding a 16S version. Like Overkill Solar has a 16S version of the JBD, but I was trying to find a supplier, straight from China that had the 16S, and they told me they didn't really make that unless it was special order, which I thought was kind of weird. So I'm trying to get their 20S and see if it'll work with 16S, which I think is how they do the 16S from Overkill Solar, is they just disable some of the wires and set it to 16, which is, that's reasonable. The AMP BMS is my second choice, but that gives me my 24 volt and my 48 volt options. But for my 12 volt, I like to use the JBD, which is the same BMS that Battery Hookup has, Overkill Solar, and that of course you can also grab from AliExpress. Thank you for asking questions and letting me just ramble. They're like, I wouldn't let you ramble if you were there and I could yell at you. You see a beeping sound on the video. Running to my BMS scared. Yeah, that would have me running to my BMS. I don't know, Travis, I might run away from your BMS scared if it's at 515 volts. So Travis had a $10,000 AGM battery bank go bad because one battery went bad. Oh yeah. Did it crimp at all? Maybe.
It's not coming out.
Yeah, it looks like it did.
Do you want to heat shrink these?
We may as well. I think we've got some
testing. Okay.
This stuff here that's already out. And then we can hide my horrible crimp jobs, which appear to be functional, but we don't need this anymore, right? The Dimcus BMS. Dan, I'm not sure which BMS that is. Mitch, how much were the cells shipped? Got quoted $890. Was that for 8 of the cells, Mitch? Or 4 of them? Probably 8 for $890, which I think is about right for smaller quantities. Travis, could you use an AMP BMS for 12 volt lead acid batteries? I don't think you could. I'm trying to think of how that would work. If you had access to the individual cells, you might be within the range that you could act like it's a lithium titanate, because those operate down in the 2 volt range. But isn't lead acid like 1.2 volts? I think it might be too small, even if you had access to the individual cells for a lead acid system. What? They're not gonna fit?
No, we're fine. I just had a casualty get lost in there.
Oh no. Oh no. You can just flip it upside down. So, Jesus, to answer your question directly, yes, I consider the Ant BMS to be better than the Dali. That's my opinion. I suppose that's what you really asked for, was my opinion, and I would say yes. I'll stop beating around the bush. Ding, 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 ding. I'm going to put these back in here for later. Look at all this trash.
Wow, this is a really tight fit.
Yeah, they are. This is a certificate, in case you are wondering. Inspector Blank made sure that this one had a QA pass 03. We're really not sure what model it is. It's a model. Sorry, what? Oh gosh, do we need a magnetic hex driver? Mm-hmm. That looks like fun. So this is a good way to controlled test or controlled charge these batteries, I guess, is if you have an inverter charger that has AC charging built in.
Okay, so these are finger tight. Do we want to snug them up more than that?
We probably want something similar to the batteries, 40 to 60 inch-pounds.
I have an extension on this. Is that going to change the foot-pounds?
No, that'll be
inch
fine.
pounds? 40 foot-pounds, right?
No.
Okay.
I'm not even going to joke about that one. Don't break my inverter. Oh, wait. No, it's our inverter. You paid for this one, too. One of these days I'll get in trouble spending the money in the business. As if I haven't already. But we need some new stuff to test out. I'm glad the rain's gone. I feel like my voice is a little less hoarse now.
Right.
So you connected the black wire to the positive, right?
No.
I'm kidding with you. That looks right to me.
Want to look at this one?
Oh, right. So ground. Yep, that looks good. Looks fantastic. So this guy's got generator inputs. It's got an input circuit breaker, RS485 CAN bus, USB, all kinds of stuff to play with. All kinds of stuff. Beauty here is that I don't need a pre-charge resistor because my BMS is going to act as my pre-charge resistor. For those of you that don't know why you would talk about needing a pre-charge resistor, there are capacitors inside of the inverter, and as soon as you give it a current source, those capacitors will charge, and capacitors charge very, very, very fast. So they pull a high current very quickly, and so you get spark. And spark's not good for connectors because you end up with a small weld spot, which means you can end up with a non-flat surface that you're trying to make contact with, and then that causes problems, or it gets your threads messed up, and it's just not good. You don't want to do it. So if we are able to software turn off the BMS, that allows us not to have a spark, and let's see if I'm a liar. Not a liar, no spark. I'm glad I'm not a liar. I try not to be a liar. I love clean threads. All right, so now we have our positive and our negative hooked on. We've got some grid charging that we can do. Oh, it's a nice cable, thank you. I appreciate the sacrifice. Are we gonna have to go buy this later?
No. I found.
Oh, you just took one apart.
I took one apart.
Handy.
I just can't tell somebody. I just
Can't tell somebody.
I just gotta make sure I put it back together.
Put it back together, it'll be okay. All right, so we're not plugged in currently, but we can turn on the BMS. Can you turn on the BMS? Do you still have that up?
I can.
I'd like to thank all 25 of our concurrent viewers right now.
Does it
for
matter
hanging
which
out
order?
with us today. No. And then,
I guess it is.
oh really?
It didn't let me.
Interesting.
Is that right?
Well, did they both turn on?
Okay.
Oh, you're trying.
So I did this one first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I tried to do this one. It just did. Yeah.
Inconsistent.
Inconsistent.
So let's go on switch and see what happens. Hey, we have lights. Unfortunately, one of them is a fault light.
Uh-oh. Is that because we're not
I've never
seeing-
tried this one on, so who even knows if it works? Apparently it has to boot.
Has to boot.
Travis, go check your BMS. Oh, there it is again. Is that your BMS, Travis? Is it okay?
So mean.
Can pop the MOSFETs with no pre-charge. That's an interesting, Travis. That's interesting. I know that AMP BMS does have a pre-charge function in it. So I've never broken anything doing it this way, but I suppose I am not perfect, so it could be that I'm doing it wrong. Thanks, RV10 Flyer. Appreciate you hanging out. Mitch, yes, that was something I needed. You were talking about releasing the torque on your wrench. Releasing the torque on your wrench, releasing the pressure on your torque wrench. Because you're right, you need to turn it back to 0 when you're done with it. Make sure you keep that thing in spec. Hey, Jesus, I don't think there's anything wrong with going with the Dally, especially if you don't need a smart one. The smart BMSs are more expensive. One of the main reasons I do them is so that I can make sure that the low temperature cutoff is there. And when I started buying these BMSs, Dally had just started releasing BMSs that had low temperature cutoff. They had the high temperature cutoff, but not the low. And they had the temperature cutoff really low. So it was like -7 Celsius or -4 Celsius, which is below freezing, and I didn't like that. That was too low for me. I'm not sure why they had it that low, and they wouldn't change it for me because, you know, I was only gonna buy a few. So I was like, nope, not gonna do that, and I moved on to something else, and who knows, maybe I'll come back and do some Dallys. They look nice, they look pretty. You know, they've got that going for them. We have an inverter charger, so we need to actually like plug it in. But what we're gonna do first, you guys can't really see this. If I prop this up, oh yeah, there we go. Do you have, okay, that'll work. So, set. I've never used this before, so, ooh, I like that it's quick. I want to set my charge rate, and I probably have to get out the manual because I don't know what each of these is. Hold on. I want to set my charge rate to pretty low for grid charging. That way I don't like blow this cord that's fairly small. That's a beauty of these better inverters. Inverter chargers is you can actually change some of these settings instead of just you know, having a 60 amp solar charger and you charge at 60 amps. You know, the way you limit that is how many solar panels are plugged in. With these, you can actually change the max charge rate, which is handy. So I'm looking through here, and let's see what we've got. Output frequency, input voltage range, blah, 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 charger source. Max charger current, AC charger plus PV charger. That's not what I want. I want, ooh, I went white. Battery charge, boost charge voltage, float. Really, you need to go through all these and make sure that they're set up for your 24 volt battery, but I just want to fire it up and make sure it's charging. Max AC charger current. Number 28 is 80 amps by default. So if we do like 10 amps, that's only 240 watts. So 28. Oh, it's this one. So if I go in there and go down, cool. So theoretically, let me go back in there and see. Yep, 10 amps. All right, so let's plug this in and see if we get 10 amps of charging.
Cord right there underneath the decks.
On that other side. Oh, thank you. Hold on, someone stepped on this one. Is that a good beep or a bad beep, I wonder?
AC inverter.
Oh, hold on, let me go get my, well, I was gonna get my clamp meter, but actually I can just grab, let's see, go to AMP BMS and we can go see if it's charging.
blinking charge.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is.
Blinking charge, man.
Bum, 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 bum.
Trying to see what this.
Um,
Not really much there. So.
yeah, so it looks like the grid icon is that little squiggly on the left, and it's going through the inverter and going to the batteries, and it's set to sealed lead acid. We really need to go through and I need to set the charging profile, but that really only matters when you're getting close to full. So right now it's fine. And yes, we are charging at 232 watts, 235 watts, 8.8 amps. So many iPhones involved. And our state of charge is 1%. That's funny.
Let me move over here.
It works. We're charging. And I suppose we could run some loads off of this if we wanted, but no, it's getting kind of late. It's 10 o'clock, dude. We've been going for 2 hours. Really appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Jesus, lowest tip will be like 8C on winter, highest. Oh, Jesus, yeah. I mean, if you're never going to get below 8C, that's well above freezing, so you don't really need that low temperature protection. Even here in North Texas, like below freezing is. I mean, usually during the year we do get to below freezing at nights, so we really do need that low temperature protection around here.
I mean, we also had that freak storm this year.
Yeah, where we were below freezing for like multiple days on end. What was it, like 90 or 100 hours of below freezing?
It was.
That was
pretty
crazy.
high up there. It's been a long time since I've been at records, but.
Travis, I really would appreciate it if you would stop praying for my stuff to go up in smoke. It was a good beep on my side. Oh my, oh my. Well, thank you everybody. Is there anything else that we wanted to address? We have a battery.
We have a battery.
Built a battery.
It's working.
It is heavy. I was trying to move this because I needed to do something on the workbench, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is a on the boxes, and it has like the two little men, and it's like 2-man lift. Like this is a 2-man lift.
Do we have an estimate on the weight? What does these batteries?
I mean,
weigh?
this should be about 100 pounds.
Okay. Wow.
It's heavy.
That's pretty dense.
Something that I would like to improve on, if I did this again, I would, instead of using the scrap wood where I was limited on how much height I had, I would probably do it higher and have some way to have a lid as well so that we have all of this covered. The main goal here was to have it where the bus bars aren't going to be stressed from moving it around, from bouncing around in a trailer or something. If you did install this in RV, probably would want to maybe like stick it on a rubber mat of some sort to at least isolate this from the vibrations of the trailer, just cause, probably just a good idea. But this keeps the bus bars from being stressed from thermal expansion, which is going to happen. I kind of like this little dip in the copper bus bar because that'll allow the thermal expansion this way because we don't really have anything holding it from the sides, only from the ends. One thing that we need to do is attach the BMS to the side somewhere, but that's easy enough to do. We just need to grab something and some short screws or something, maybe hold it against the wood there. This BMS, we'll do some testing on it. We should be able to pull 120 to 140 amps. We set it up at 140 without too much trouble. One day we'll get this set up. This is a 3,000 watt inverter here, so we could pull, I think that would pull 140 amps off of the battery at 3,000 watts. That's a pretty hefty inverter there, and it's pretty inexpensive. So this is a kind of that mid-range system here because we've got one of these inverters that's a 1,000 watt that can only handle 500 watts worth of solar, and you can hook it up to a little 12-volt battery. And honestly, one of these 12-volt batteries is probably a little overkill considering it's 500 watts worth of solar. But sometimes you want that extra battery capacity. Maybe you're doing DC to DC charging off of the engine and the solar is just kind of to help it out. Anyway, so this is a pretty well-sized system because you can do 1.5 kilowatts or so of solar off of this. It's a 60 amp solar charge controller. So you could throw a few of those 230 watt panels at it. It'll do, I think it's like 140, 150 volt input. So you could do 3 of those panels in series, do a couple sets, have some nice wattages worth of panels coming in.
And then, of course, the next step would go to like a 48 volt, and that gets you into a much bigger battery because that's 2 of these puppies, which would actually be kind of cool. You could do 2 of these individually, and that makes them manageable. One of these that's a 48 volt,
That'd be quite the beast.
That's gonna be heavy. I want to do one anyway in a big metal box. That's
Now, what if you were to make 4 of these in 4? Can you take 4 12-volt batteries and make them into 48?
Oh, do them as 4-cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the limiting is your sense wires, because you're gonna have.
You have to have more BMSs to do that. Right? Or no? Or just have.
Well, okay. What was say your scenario again?
I don't know. I was thinking you could have 4 boxes you dropped in really quickly to move around, but I guess.
And put them in series, like for a 48 volt system.
Yeah.
The problem we have right now is that the BMSs, the JBD BMSs that we have, can't handle 48 volts. At least I don't think they can. I need to check the MOSFETs and make sure. The MOSFETs have to be rated for the 48 or the 60 volts that they're going to reach to be able to go in series. So like something like a Battleborn battery, they've got internal BMSs, and they did build those so that you can go up to, I think they do 48 volts max. So you can run those in series. The 12-volt batteries we have right now, the 12-volt BMSs that we have right now are for 12-volt systems. But yes, if we had a BMS that could handle that, it would cost a little more because now you've got 4 BMSs instead of 1.
Yeah.
But it does make it a little more modular, and you can set up 4 of them. You can rearrange them a little bit because this is kind of a big blob, right? If you're having to put this in a little van life build or something, you're kind of limited on where you can put it because it's one big piece. I mean, it's pretty dense in its power, but now you're building a cabinet around it instead of putting it inside of a cabinet.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a thought there, especially when you get into like a 48 volt. You know, what are you doing with that? Absolutely. Oh, Jim. Jim's got a 16 cell, and you're doing. He did them all in line, so he's got. That's probably like 5 or 6 foot long worth of cells, and you're just gonna lay it against the wall of the trailer. You're definitely doing you're building your trailer from scratch, so you can kind of choose where everything goes, which is fantastic. I'm looking forward to your build. Hey Jim, I know we went through some settings on your BMS, and I don't know if you were here for the whole stream, but when we were setting up this amp BMS, which is the same one that you had, we noticed that there was that LiFePo4 and the lithium titanate options, and they had the set buttons. I think that your problem was when we were setting yours up is that we didn't hit the set button on the LiFePo4. You might go ahead and do that because that sets a lot of the default settings to where they really should be. Instead of us going through and nitpicking which ones looked wrong because it wasn't balancing right. I think the only thing that we changed after doing that, and you can go back through the live stream and see when we start setting up the BMS and we changed some individual settings, and those should be, I mean, they should be about the same for yours. It would just be a 16S instead of an 8S, but you might go check that out. But I'm glad it's working well for you. That's awesome. Yeah, BMS for 150 cells. I tried just looking for BMSs for like a 35 to 40 cell system. AliExpress does have one that came out that's a little more modular and can go up into the 50 or 100 cells, I think. And I haven't tried it out, but it's like, and it's fairly reasonable because like at Orion BMS, you can do that and get the modules and get into a really high cell count, but they're like, you know, $800 to $1,000 to start, and then you start adding modules for $300 a piece, and it gets real expensive real quick. Thank you, Jesus. I appreciate that it's helpful having the live stream and learning a little bit. I'm learning plenty myself. I know Dan was out here teaching me what the where I should be doing fusing. He's like, shouldn't you fuse that? I was like, oh right, yeah, I should. I've got fuses over here. Let me plug that in real quick. Dan, I need to go look up the warranty. I think we've been doing 1 year on our built batteries for our warranties. So hit me up. I've got it documented somewhere with our little warranty thing. I need to make that a little more official so that everybody knows we stand behind it. But you know, you got to make sure you treat them right too. We gotta make sure we have the warranty right for the cells because you gotta. make sure that you set them up correctly, because if you don't program the BMS correctly or don't use a BMS, then it's very easy to degrade these cells to where they don't work. That's one of my pet peeves with lead acid, and something that Travis was talking about as well is, you know, you can have this nice big lead acid battery bank, and there's really not a lot inherently wrong with the lead acid battery bank. Like, they're good, they store power, they do what they need to do. I think a lot of the problems that people have had, and a lot of their negative connotation that comes with lead acid, is that they don't have any protections. So you have a lead acid bank and you run it below, you know, a 20% stated charge, and suddenly your lead acid bank doesn't work well anymore. And it's like, oh, well, no duh, because you ran it below a 20% stated charge. So you have people out there that have a full-on forklift battery that's, you know, 30 kilowatt hours or something, and they drop it in their house, and they use like 10% of that battery every day. And that thing lasts for 15 years. And you're like, well, you did fantastic. You didn't even have to go lithium. You just used your lead acid bank. You made sure it was watered. You made sure you never overcharged or undercharged. You did your equalization. Like, it's a matter of taking care of it. The beauty here is that we have a BMS that should do all that for us, because then we just set it up. We make sure that the over voltage, over current, under temperature, over temperature, all this is set up correctly. And as long as the BMS doesn't die and kill something, which is a possibility, BMSs can fail and cause cells to go bad or a pack to go bad. It's our saving grace and is able to protect us, which is what Travis was saying, is that, no, Travis disagrees with me. He says lead acid sucks for other reasons, but I mean, there are other reasons. We have a lead acid bank in our forklift, and one of the cells is leaking acid all over the place, which is annoying. And that thing takes a lot of water.
It does.
That thing's thirsty.
It does. Well, do you have any ideas of what you want to do next week?
Yeah, so I know some of you probably saw the poll that I did for next week, and I would really like to get I don't know if y'all have seen those site job boxes. So it's a big metal box, it's got forklift holes in it, and it's basically a toolbox that's lockable for tradesmen to take to the job site and drop in place and keep it in the commercial building or whatever that they're working on, and have all their tools inside, and they can lock them up and leave it at night.
Yeah.
I would like to take one of those and build a 48-volt battery inside the box, protected, got a lid, it's got metal around it. You can run all thread, keep the battery compressed, but then also attach the battery with the all thread to the metal box itself. Put big old casters on the bottom of that box so it can roll around the garage or the shop or wherever. And then on the top of the box, mount our grow watt inverter, or a pair of grow watt inverters. I don't know how far we want to go with this, right?
Right.
As well as our PV disconnect and our, I don't know if we would want the, oh gosh, I forgot the name of it. The combiner box. The combiner box like on there, or if it should be by the panels, but have it set up to where we can have, you know, a couple, 3 kilowatts worth of panels feeding into it.
Yeah.
A real system. Like, this is something that you could literally take. It's got 14 kilowatt hours. You could take that and drop it into the side room of your cabin and run your air conditioner and all of your lights, and it's real, you know, and you got a couple 3 kilowatts worth of solar on a little ground mount or on the roof of the cabin. So that's something I've been wanting to do for a little while now. It's a fairly involved project. I know there's some other small ones that some people have been talking about, so we'll see what we can scare up between now and next Monday, and whether we have any money to spend on supplies.
Maybe we'll jump into that for next week, or maybe we'll jump into a smaller little project.
Because we could also grab a 12-volt battery that we've already got, and a 12-volt inverter, and maybe build out some more of the 12-volt side. You know, throw a fuse box on that, and run some wiring there on some LEDs and some accessories and stuff. I don't know. It would be fun at some point too to do something during the day, so we could do something that actually has solar on our solar channel. It's not a solar channel, it's an energy channel.
It is.
But you know, we could scoot away from batteries a little bit and actually play with some solar panels. One of the ideas that I've got is I do have a buddy with a Tesla, and
nice.
I think that there's some videos out there on charging with solar, but I think we could top them. I think we've got some supplies here that we could do some real charging with solar. Not Not, hey, I've got a Jackery with 1,000 watt hours and I'll get a mile down the road, 2 miles down the road with this. Like, I think we could set it up and do like 6 kilowatt charging on that Tesla and I think that would be a lot of fun. That it's gonna require a lot of work to set up, but
Okay.
there's some fun videos. But we'll see what we do next week. So our idea is to do something every Monday night. For now, we might change the time a little bit, make it a little bit early, so we're not sitting here at 10:30 wrapping up our stream.
Yeah.
But if you guys, I'll try to put a poll out to kind of gauge some interest in what we want to cover, the next week.
Yeah.
And kind of remind you guys. But sorry for tonight. I know that I had the live stream scheduled, and there was a glitch in the system somewhere, and it wasn't allowing us to stream to that one. So I had to delete it and create a new one. So hopefully you're able to find the new one. Of course, we had a bit of a delay getting started on the actual battery build, so it probably all worked out fine.
There's quite a few issues tonight. It was quite the entertaining. On the
Charge
back end.
controller comparisons. I do have some videos on that, but I do need to do some more charge controller comparisons, Aquatics Live. So yes, I agree, because even the inverter chargers that I've got. But tell me what kind of things you like to see in a charge controller comparison. I've tried to go down the route of doing like real efficiency numbers and stuff, but it's hard to get equipment to really measure that very accurately.
Would that be something maybe on a day we could set some panels out in the parking lot and just go through each controller and kind of see what they get?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe we could just use the clamp meter and if we've got multiple batteries and multiple charge controllers, we can just have maybe a setup on carts and stuff and do a few charge controllers, see how they perform. I think it'd be fun. That would be fun. Let's see. Wanted to check and see. Job site box needs a huge surge rating, says Travis. Go with at least 6 kilowatt inverter. You know what? I don't know. Part of me wants to do the grow watt. We could always swap it out for something else. I have a Must brand inverter that is a low frequency instead of a high frequency, and it's a 4 kilowatt split phase. That would actually be a fun one to do for the job site box, but we'll see what we do. Philam Basin versus Eve cells. I think Basin's actually the seller, not the manufacturer. So the cells we have are Lishen, and they're also Eve cells. We get them from Basin, so they sell both. I don't have a specific brand on cells at this point. We have these Lishens, and we had some previous that were Blue Label. I don't really know what brand they were, but they worked fine. So I don't know. Travis, you're saying a 13 kilowatt hour would be drained overnight from your kids playing video games. I suppose that's fair. Use a modified Toyota Prius inverter to fast charge the Tesla straight from the solar panels. Travis, I'm going to have to be careful about taking your suggestions because I have a feeling that I'm going to kill myself with the high voltage that you're recommending. I will take that into consideration, though. Absolutely. Dan, you're a dealer. So you're a dealer for Midnight and Outback? Yeah, we might need to talk and see. Maybe you can bring some down here and we could test them out against the cheapo ones that scare you and see how much better they are. I haven't broken down and spent a lot of money on a charge controller because I know those the Midnights. I think they're like what, $600 for a 60 or 80 amp charge controller. And I'm not knocking it. I'm sure that it's higher quality than an EP ever, but it got more settings and whatnot. I just haven't used one. I figure, if a kid's playing a video game, they need to be pedaling to charge the battery. So I agree with you, Mitch. that would actually be a fun one to do, right?
Yeah, how much power you can get off of pedaling?
You can get I think they already kind of know the numbers, right?
Right.
A triathlete can do like 250 watts.
Okay.
Like, it's not that much.
Yeah.
But, you know, it could generate some electricity. Like, if you're in a really bad situation and you have to go get your bike out to generate your 100 watts, that you can you do that for, say if you had 100 watts because you're a weakling and you did that for, oh gosh. I was thinking about how long you'd have to do that to make like a pot of coffee. You might have to go for, because that would run like a kilowatt for like a minute or two. Okay, it might be like 20 or 30 minutes of cycling to get your kettle to run long enough to get your pot of coffee, like I mean your cup of coffee.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, it depends on what your priorities are in life.
How desperate are you for hot coffee?
Okay, Travis. Yeah, I'd like to see that too. Midnight and Outback versus Chinese. That's I do wonder where the Midnight and Outbacks are actually made, but at this point, I'll assume that they are made in the U.S. I know I've seen ones that look like Midnight on AliExpress, but China likes to copy things, so I won't assume anything. Cadillac to a Pinto. Yes, Dan, I appreciate that. Cycle, so Mitch says cycle and build up speed on a 50-pound flywheel. Yeah, and then you just engage. Flywheel energy is a lot of fun. Man, there's so many topics. So guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We really appreciate you coming out. We'll have a battery build that's actually edited and a little bit nicer out pretty soon. My wife's been spending some time editing it and making it nice, unlike the live streams that are a little more raw.
Yeah.
But we'll have that out soon. If you want to support the channel, hit some links from the descriptions in the channels if you're going to buy something. If you hit that Amazon link and then buy anything on Amazon, then they like to give us a little kickback for that. So affiliate income, it's always nice. Gives us a little more incentive to set this all up and do a live stream. But we should be back again next week. That would be the tomorrow that I'm thinking of. Next week on Monday, possibly a little earlier.
Possibly.
In the day instead of 8 p.m.
Maybe 7-ish.
Yeah, I'll send out a schedule probably later this week, scheduling what it is and what our topic will be so that you can plan your Monday evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, Travis, it's only 5:30. Can I come visit you in Hawaii? Can we come do some solar videos out there?
What island is he on?
What island are you on, Travis?
It's going to be a whole 45 seconds wait for him to respond.
I know, Travis. I talk out of both sides of my mouth. You say you know that I love the high voltage because I did it last week, feeding high voltage into a charge controller that's Chinese and did not make any sparks that day. I was careful. I was careful.
After you put the fuse in line?
I didn't blow the fuse. So
there you go.
Theoretically, I would have been fine without the fuse that time.
That time.
Thanks, Jesus. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
And we will sign off. See y'all next week.
See y'all next week.